Catch girl talks every day. Follow socials, here's the way.
GURLTAUX, every platform come to play. Catch our vibe, don't delay.
Facebook, YouTube streams, scrolling through your daily memes. Girl Talk Show, don't miss out. Join the fun and see what Girl Talks is all about. Keeping it real, it's what we do. So tune in now and join our crew. Lights moving through the screen, click subscribe, don't be mean. Upbeat chatter, it's our routine. Girl Talk Show, don't miss out. Join the fun and see what Girl Talks is all about. GURLTAUX is who we are. Come hang with us on your tablet, phone, or screen. Anywhere Girl Talks can be seen. Girl Talk Show, don't miss out. Join the fun and see what Girl Talks is all about. Update stories, laugh and cry. It's Girl Talk, so don't question why. It's the show that you'll adore. Come back daily to get some more. Girl Talk Show, don't miss out. Join the fun and see what Girl Talks is all about. GURLTAUX is who we are. Come hang with us on your tablet, phone, or screen. Anywhere Girl Talks can be seen. Girl Talk Show, don't miss out. Join the fun, see what Girl Talks is all about. GURLTAUX, log in now, watch our show. Likes and comments, let them flow. Every day we're on our way. Girl Talk Show is here to stay. Girl Talk Show, don't miss out. Join the fun, see what Girl Talks is all about.
Walking down this road tonight, talking about the things we fight. Addiction knocking at my door. E&T wants so much more. We walk the walk and talk the talk, right here on Girl Talk, on the path where we belong. Standing strong through the storm, together we'll move along. Searching for a brighter day, holding tight along the way. Sobriety's a steep climb, D&T winning every time. Oh yeah, we walk the walk and talk the talk, right here on Girl Talk, on the path where we belong. Standing strong through the storm, D&T bringing all of you along. Oh yeah, we walk the walk and talk the talk, right here on Girl Talk, on the path where we belong. Standing strong through the storm, D&T bringing all of you along. Whoa, yeah. We walk the walk and talk the talk, right here on Girl Talk, on the path where we belong. Standing strong through the storm, D&T bringing all of you along. Whoa, yeah. We walk the walk and talk the talk, right here on Girl Talk, on the path where we belong. Standing strong through the storm, D&T bringing all of you along.
Hello. Hey, how are you?
Good. Happy Monday.
Hey, happy Monday. It has been a bit of a day, busy wise for myself anyway. How about for you?
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. And this time change is so rough.
Yeah,
Oh, pardon me.
I still do not understand why we bother to have this time change crap. Like
No.
it was first um it was first done because of crop growing and having to go out and farm for the farmers. And most farmers have light systems, they have automated systems, they have big equipment now. They aren't farming by hand anymore like they did in the day.
Yeah.
And I would rather go back to the, spring forward, fall back. I'd rather go to just fall back and stay there.
Yeah.
You know,
me too.
or
Me
spring
too.
forward and stay there.
Yeah. I
Pick a
mean, pick
lane.
one. Just pick one and
Just-
stop making us like.
Just pick a lane and let's stick in that lane. Like there's no need for the fall or spring anymore. And
It's true.
there's only
True.
like 2 states that don't do it now, Arizona and where else doesn't do it?
Tennessee doesn't do it. Like the state right above us. They
Right
don't-
next to
they
us,
don't
like
do it.
hello.
Yeah.
And that's a
Like,
big farmland.
Yeah.
And they don't do it. They're like, what the fuck are you doing? Man, I can't even get through 10 minutes before I already throw out the F bomb. But it's because of the damn time change. Like, it's ridiculous. So I'm gonna try to find this thing here. I gotta find where this woman said this. But anyway, what we're going to talk about today is so by the way, hi, I'm Tori and I am the host of Girl Talks. I hope that you are all having a great day and I'm going to try to fix my stupid thing so I'm actually in the center. But I hope you're having a great day and a great Monday and welcome to our show. This is Girl Talks. We talk about anything and everything. We lay it all out on the table, and no topic is off limits. And today we are going to have another devil's advocate, and we're going to bring up a topic, and we're gonna debate the topic. So maybe we'll start with that. You want to start with that one?
That would be fun.
That would let's just start with
Yes.
that. We might even have another 911 call. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. Here let's start with let's find a question. Let me look at the questions here.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna pop this over to you and see what you think. Okay, so this means both of us have to pick a side, and doesn't mean you have to actually agree with it, but if you pick the agreement side, all your information has to be only about why you think it is or isn't, whichever side you talk. You can't do well, if it's this but this, only stick with all this. And then that way the other person can give the why it might be a good idea. Because we both have kind of done them where it's like, well, I have this side, but it's also could be here. Let's stick with, you're fighting for no, it is this and this only, and that is it.
And it makes you think too.
What
because
do you like that one?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, we're
Yeah.
going to do this one. So this question here this was the other one I was thinking of.
Oh, that's a good
And
one.
we're both on this.
too.
And most of these things, we're both on the same side. Which one do you want?
Oh gosh, I don't.
You guys can't even know what one it is right now. So
let's do the one in your right hand. Yeah.
okay, that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So now, are you going to pick the for side or against side? for limits or not for limits?
For limits.
Okay. So Kimberly is going to take the for side. I'm going to take the against side. The question is, should there be limits on freedom of speech? Now, remember, these are not necessarily our viewpoints. We just have to stand with our side. So Kimberly is going to be on the side of there should be limits on freedom of speech. Go.
Oh, you want me to go first?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Okay.
I'm
Okay,
so mean.
so no, it's fine. So I believe that. Oh, shoot. Sorry, I was opening up the YouTube. So I do believe that there should be limits on free speech because all speech, even though it may be quote unquote free, everything comes with consequences. And those consequences are vast. So when you, and there's a big difference between just voicing an opinion and actually being aggressive and um and just vile and shameful and hateful and and saying things that are absolutely completely untrue that influence other people's decisions or opinions or how things that could be it kind of turns into a snowball effect. If it's a negative connotation, for sure, because people like to spread negative and more extraordinary sounding things faster than they do things that are whatever, like just kind of run of the mill stuff or so I think that there should be limits on freedom of speech when it comes to things that could and do actually affect someone's real life, because then you're bordering on affecting somebody's right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So you're
Okay.
in a way infringing on someone else's rights.
Okay, and I'm going to argue that I totally disagree. I think that there should not be limits other than for violence and physical harm and threats. Because when you talk about it in the manner in which you're describing, that's censorship. And censoring freedom of speech, whether we like it or not, the freedom of speech should not be infringed. And that's about the fact that what you like or don't like should not be because that goes into that touchy world of feelings, that touchy world of who decides what's right, who decides what's hate, who decides what's this and that. Now, when it comes to where it could harm somebody's way of life and somebody's prosperity or somebody's pursuit of happiness or somebody's job, that's called defamation. And you can sue them for defamation. So you have the freedom to say it, but we also have the freedom to sue you over it if it's wrong, if it's lies and it's false information. You have the ability to do that, and that's where you have those protections. But when you start limiting speech itself, like the question itself is, should there be limits on freedom of speech? And I take very much importance to the word freedom of speech, because the freedom of speech is I should be free to say whatever vile shit I want to say that's wrong, or that you may not like, or that someone else may not like, but that it's my right to say what I want. And I do fully believe that if you're a racist, say it loud, say it proud. That way I know not to support your business. I know not to support you as a person. And if we get to too much of the nitty-gritty of what we are going to suppress and not suppress, what we're going to censor, not censor, who's the deciding factor? Because that's what happened in 2017, 2018, 2019 into the 2020 election, is they were censoring freedom of speech by censoring what they didn't want us to say. They didn't want the left to hear. They didn't want them to know about the Hunter Biden laptop. They didn't want us to know about certain things. So Facebook started censoring. TikTok was or Twitter was censoring. TikTok was just really mostly, there was hardly any politics on TikTok at that point in time. It was mostly kids and silly, stupid shit. But censoring it itself is stifling the freedom of speech. And that's where I think you get into that touchy water of taking away rights versus harming somebody. Like, you should not be allowed to harm someone, whether it's with your words or with your fists. But that's where the courts are there to decide those factors. If you physically write out something about somebody and you put it online, nowadays everybody does a video about everything. So that's evidence. If you go on and do a video about, you do this or you do that, you now have evidence against that person defaming you. They had the freedom to say it. Yeah, I fully support that. You should have the freedom of speech other than to physically threaten or to cause violence or harm. And that's where law enforcement should come into play. I've turned in a few things that I've seen online because I don't know who's seen it yet. And I will send it over to the proper authorities if I see somebody threatening another person.
Mm-hmm.
Or if somebody is, even the threats of and I'm saying this clearly, I am not advocating for it, nor am I calling for it. But when you see people doing videos calling for, I want someone to commit a crime against someone, that is a crime. You are calling for harm to come to another person, and you saying, I didn't say I was going to do it. You are asking people that might watch you or follow you or see you to go do it. So therefore, yeah, you did. So that is not freedom of speech. That's violence. That's threatening. But when it comes to actual freedom of speech, yeah, I think it should be pretty much, you can say whatever you want. That's what it was intended for. They have the freedom to do so. I hate when I see somebody burn the American flag, but they have the freedom to do so.
So do you think that it's okay for somebody to go on social media where lots and lots of people have access to the information that they're putting out there, and they post something such as some sob story that they made up to gain
That's a crime.
sympathy for people?
That's a crime.
And then dox the person.
That's a crime. They have the freedom to do so, but it's a crime.
Those aren't crimes.
Those are crimes.
Civil
but
matters. They're not arrestable, punishable by anything
not
other than
not
a
crime, but they're
judgment.
punishable in the courts. And so
what does that mean? That doesn't take away the fact that they put your name, your address, everything out there for all the wackos and wingnuts to see.
I understand what you're saying, but that's not freedom of speech. I don't see that as freedom of speech.
But they do, and those people use that as another example.
But who's going to start censoring it? That's the problem.
Well, listen. I posted a comment in a Facebook group.
Right.
And I picked to be anonymous. And the comment was simply asking a question. What is this post all about? What is the end game to this post that you're posting? And immediately hundreds of people were like, you're a bigoted fascist. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Like, I literally asked a question, like, how did this turn political? But then
And
But
it had
then
nothing
people
to do with that.
started demanding that my identity be exposed.
But did they?
Yes.
Did they finally expose
Yes.
who you were? Okay.
Yes.
Then that
And then booted me out of the group.
well, to be honest
So
with you, I would file civil charges against them because that's doxing you, and that is a punishable thing in a court of
that's
law.
a huge safety issue.
That
and that's like
considered threatening.
mhm.
And but it's not freedom of speech. I don't think that falls under freedom of speech. I think that's violating someone's rights.
It may not legally fall under that, but the point I'm trying to make is that like a lot of people interpret the freedom of speech as they are able to say whatever. Like somebody else, another instance, I denied services to, and the man went online and completely defamed me, Logan, the business, everything, called Logan an a-hole, everything. And I privately messaged him and I told him, listen here, you SOB, you're not going to slam my business because I
Right.
chose not to do business with you. And you don't have the right to say those things, and things that are untrue. And he literally came back at me with, if I have freedom of speech, and if that were true, everything that I post about Biden, I'd be in jail right now.
Well,
And I was like, "Are you stupid or what?"
An
Like,
argument is it's not a crime, so he wouldn't be in jail for what he said about Biden.
right? Like,
Plus there are caveats to defamation, and and it falls under public personas,
mhm,
public people like Biden, like President Trump. There's a lot of those things that they can't go after people for defamation because they're a public figure.
mhm.
Whereas a private citizen can go after you for defamation on a lesser
Right,
thing.
right.
So all I would say on that is I agree and disagree at the same time because you have the right to take him to court for defamation.
Mhm.
And you both have the right to say what you want to say. You can come back and say this stuff is false. And you can sue him in court and he could get a penalty for it. He could get a fine. He could, well, not a fine, but they could award you a thing.
Right.
Which comes to, yeah, should we all have to be doing that? No. But when it comes to actual censorship and freedom of speech, I don't think there should be limits on freedom of speech, but I think there should be laws put into place for defamation that are actually become a crime. For doxing
agree.
people,
Yes.
for putting people's personal private information out. That actually is a crime. That actually is a crime. You cannot put people's personal information because it's a crime in the aspect of it could cause harm. So you can't, they can actually get charged with something for
Really?
that. Yeah. Because they're putting you in a danger position. I don't know what the crime it is, but I did research on it, and we weren't prepared for
Wow.
this, so I didn't
Oh,
have the
I gotcha.
information.
No, but
But you
that's
can,
interesting.
somebody can actually get charged with that, and it's under the cyberbullying laws.
Okay.
Uh,
Which there's not many
There's not
yet.
many. So we need more. I think we need more laws and regulations for criminal actions
Mhm,
against people who put people in harmful manner.
mhm.
And that is different
Because
than freedom of speech.
it
You know what I mean?
well,
They're using that as
it's a
they're out.
piece of it, I guess, like, and
Yeah.
and only because I've been on the receiving end of people's vile
Well, I
and
think every one of us conservatives
things,
have been
like,
on the
well, no, that have
receiving
actually
end.
affected my personal
Oh, me
life, like, and
I lost my
business,
entire
and
business over it.
so, like,
So yeah.
I mean, but not everybody has,
Right.
so, I mean,
But there's a lot that have. So that's why we have to have legislature and people
I think
who
there
go
needs to
after
be
getting
maybe
more.
not have it such a broad, like, maybe like there should be certain provisions or amendments made that cover certain,
Well, if you
like,
if you change it where
because society has changed.
right. But then you're falling into that, we need to change the Second Amendment to only have muskets. So making a new law,
No,
though,
we need to take it so you
Make-
can have
making a-
modern guns.
making a new law, though, that it's a criminal act to out somebody's personal information that could cause harm to them.
Mhm.
They should become criminal. Those should become criminal altogether.
Mhm.
There needs to be more rules and laws and regulations. And I mean, on a criminal side of not just defamation. You know, you can go after somebody for defamation, but they should actually get arrested. They should go to jail for, you know, and that makes it a really sticky situation where you can go to jail for lying now. But if it causes harm to another person, yeah, I think that should be a criminal
For sure.
thing.
For
So
sure.
those are things that I think need to be changed in adding something, but not necessarily adjusting the freedom of speech part of it, but make so it would be a completely separate thing of a federal and state, and each state should do their own. That, you know, because you could set a federal standard where it's a federal crime, and I almost say it should be a federal crime because internet is everywhere.
Yeah.
Like,
true.
you're not just going to
True.
post on only in Alabama.
That's true.
If it goes online, it's everywhere.
It's all
It can be
over. Yeah.
anywhere worldwide.
Yeah.
So America wide, I would say it should be a federal crime to dox somebody or to cause such defamation that it could, and that's where you have to, the wording has to be so specific with defamation to the point that it could cause harm or loss of business. That is the definition behind defamation of character for a lawsuit. And I think, to be honest with you, I think that less people would do it if more of us would go and sue.
Right.
If more
But
of us
God,
would,
do you know how much it costs to
exactly
sue
that,
somebody?
but that's the reason why they
Like,
keep getting away with it,
I
is because
know.
we don't
I
go and
know.
sue people. We don't go after them. There are more people doing it now than there have been in the past, and they are winning. So even locally, if you just went and, you know, the local is not as expensive as if you went and tried to do something bigger. But just a simple, you know, court case, if they got a subpoena in the mail that they're being sued for defamation of character, it would go around, and over a period of time, less people would do it. But more people have to go after people for defamation, true defamation. You know, if it and you have to prove malice. You have to prove that you have a loss of some sort, and and the malice means that it was on purpose. You know, they did it on purpose. And that the information was knowingly false. And there's easy ways to prove that stuff.
Right.
But I think it falls under two different categories, not freedom of speech. They're using freedom of speech as the reason that they can get away with it. But I don't think it actually falls under freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is saying your opinion, and you can't sue somebody for an opinion.
Right. Right.
But if they knowingly know it's false, that's
And
not an
state something
opinion.
as
That's
it's a
not
fact.
That's not an opinion.
Yeah.
That's stating it as fact. That is not freedom of speech.
Right.
That's not. I don't think it falls under the same category. Even though people use that as the out for doing it.
Right.
But I don't think it falls under the same category. I think it is a different category than freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is being able to speak your feelings and your opinions without retribution. So therefore, you speaking false information knowingly, that is malice and that is intent. And that is something that I think would stop that more if it became more criminal. And they are working on criminal sides of those things because of cyberbullying and cyber harassment, because that's what that one would fall under, would be cyber harassment, cyberbullying, you know, so there have to be more regulations and rules and laws on that. And it doesn't when he said, well, I'd be in jail for Biden. No, because a public figure can be mocked and made fun of, and that is freedom of speech. You are allowed to do those things. Now, if you knew him personally and then you put out
Yes.
false information
Yes.
personally
Yes.
as if you knew them personally,
yes.
then they could go after you for defamation.
Exactly.
But when you don't know them, they're going to have a hard time proving that Joe on Elm Street in Indiana knew Joe personally and put out false information knowingly and wanting to cause harm.
Everybody circulating the same meme
is not the same thing. And they censored that during 2020. They censored all the things that the conservatives were doing. And that's why I fight really hard for freedom of speech. And I do look at different than defamation. Defamation is with intent. And it isn't with intent to harm somebody, and it's using false information knowingly. And that's not the same as freedom of speech. And that's my opinion, as I don't think it actually falls under freedom of speech, even though people are using that as their excuse to be allowed to say something. And, some way to possibly deal with some of these people is pulling up the statute in your own county, your own state about defamation of character and defamation lawsuits, and just send them that and say, if you don't put me back in the group and you take my information off, I will be taking you to court for defamation. And, sometimes a threat goes a long way. And I mean a threat of court, a threat of taking them and hurting them, because that is illegal. And it may not be a crime, it's still illegal, because otherwise no defamation case would ever be granted, because it wouldn't be illegal to do.
And I tried to find a lawyer, that dealt with defamation here in North Alabama. I found one. It's a huge law firm out in Huntsville, like a huge law firm. And they have 40 lawyers there. And it's a top-notch law firm, $20,000 retainer fee. And the only reason they agreed to work with me was because I have certifications. They straight up said if I was just some run-of-the-mill corner dime store dog groomer, that they wouldn't even touch it. But because I have certifications, that I have a better chance of winning against people, because I have professional accolades.
However, you don't need a lawyer to sue somebody. You can go down
when you have a list of 35 people to take to court, because it was turned into a huge ordeal. It did.
Yeah. With that, there's a lot more people.
It was huge. It was like half the town of across the river.
Yeah.
So it was rotten. People were horrid. I was scared.
Wow.
And these are all
Christians,
Republicans.
That's
and
shameful.
That's really shameful.
Not to say anything that not suing them is your option. What happened? It went to black screen for some reason. Why is it doing that? Hello, change. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know when it went to black screen. Sorry.
And there's no sound.
And there's no sound? You can't hear us.
Okay.
Now can you hear us? No?
Now it's on.
Is there any sound?
No sound.
Okay. I don't know when we lost sound. Let me reset this board real quick.
Huh.
it's frustrating when okay, Logan said there was sound.
Okay.
And hopefully we're all back now and there is full sound. That's so frustrating when I'm trying to make something work and bleh, it just goes to poo-poos.
He
Well,
said no, there's not. Nope.
well, yeah, but that was
But
when it
now
was
it's back.
rebooting. So
Okay.
it should be okay. It's back. All right. Sorry about that, everybody. Like sometimes goofy shit happens. I don't know. But I'm not sure where we left off. But the whole point is, so I would say, to be honest with you, if it were me and had I known you at the time, I would have gone into the Republican meeting and had a blast out about it. And
Well, I did think about showing up at all their churches, one on Sunday and another one on another Sunday, and just walking in and being all, hey.
I would have gone to
How
also
would
the
you-
Republican meeting and say these Republicans are harming my business over the fact that I said, and to be point blank, I said I can no longer take care of your animal because they're not paying their bill.
Mhm.
What kind of Republicans are you people having in here that don't pay their bills? Just because I am I'm a little business here and you feel you have the right to do that, and then you can talk smack about me and bring all your people to hunt me down like it's pitchforks and torches time. No, that's not how this is done, and I will come to this board meeting every single week until you tell them to stop.
Where are their meetings at? I would go. I didn't know there was
Oh, we
such
have
a thing.
Republican meetings all over the place.
Are
Yeah.
you serious?
Yeah, the Athens Republican headquarters. There's Huntsville Republican headquarters. I'm sure there's one in every county or every city. Yeah, it's where I bought.
Well, I know,
hat.
like, I just didn't think
They
they
have
were like
meetings. Oh, yeah.
open and active all the
Oh.
time.
Well, they're usually they are. So you can go to a Republican meeting anytime. Usually in every city, every county.
Well, it's not too
has them.
late.
No, it's still not too late. I mean,
I'll do that. Okay, cool beans.
like
Anyway,
it doesn't hurt to go in there and have a little speech saying, "Hey, this happened on this time, and it was Republicans, and I am a Republican. I am a Trump supporter. I am a MAGA person, and your people went after me for failure to pay a bill." That's what it comes down to.
No, what it was the man didn't want to pay what I was going to charge him.
Well,
Because someone else only charged him X amount. And I said, well, that's not what I charge for a giant schnauzer. I don't charge $45 for a giant schnauzer. Go back to your old person.
I'm sorry. This is my business.
Yeah, and that's what I
don't
told
work
him.
for them.
And he went off and told me to get the hell out of here and go back to California and like online. Like it was bad. And then
I would take all
half the
those,
town. I
would take all those screenshots and I would go into the Republican meeting and I would blast. If they are a known Republican, I would go in there and blast them and say, they tried to destroy my business because they want me to charge them what someone,
and I told him
Dillard's doesn't charge Walmart prices.
Yeah,
because you're at Dillard's.
Exactly.
And
I felt I really felt bullied by this man. And like I told him no over the phone. So he showed up with the dog and was like, see, he's really nice. And I was like, dude, no, I'm not doing business with you. That. I said, no, that's my prerogative. And that was small business.
So this one was different than the one who just didn't bother to pay their bill.
Yeah, this is a whole different.
Okay.
Yeah, like I've had several issues with people.
Yeah, we all do when you have a business.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately,
in a small town, it's rough though.
Yeah, in a small
word travels.
In a small town, it's much more difficult, and that's where I really do think that new laws and new regulations need to come into effect for defamation and for online bullying and for doxing. Yes. I think there needs to be specific regulations on doxing. I think there needs to be specific regulations that are actually more of a criminal offense if you defame somebody and destroy their business, because
Mhm.
there are people, I mean, and it goes all the way to the gay couple who wanted the cake made for them. They do have the freedom of their religion,
Mhm.
and you don't have the right to defame them and try to
Exactly.
destroy their business because they
Exactly.
wouldn't do for you, because I guarantee you
Exactly.
that was deliberate.
Yes.
They did sue them,
Yes.
and they did win, because it was defamation,
Mhm.
because they went there. They could have gone to another baker.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, if I brought my dog to you and said my dog is trans and I want you to groom my trans dog and make her a girl, so she looks like a girl dog with his wee wee, and you said, I'm sorry, I don't believe in that, and I'm not going to do that. I don't have the right to destroy your business. I can go to another groomer that's like, oh, that's so sweet, let me put a tutu on him, her. I mean, and it sounds
Right.
silly,
No, but you're right.
but you have the right to go to another business.
Mhm.
And if you didn't like my prices, then go back to your Walmart groomer.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
I have
That's
a
all it
higher
would
level.
take.
I have more certifications. Your other groomer probably started it in her living room and has 0 certifications
with a Floby.
with a Floby and has no idea what she's doing, and hence she
Right.
can't charge
The
my
premium
prices,
right?
because she doesn't do premium work.
Mhm.
I mean, the people who drive a Mercedes, a BMW, a Lexus, a Bentley didn't pay the same price as buying a Honda,
Exactly.
Exactly. Unless, of course, it was the touring Honda that's a hybrid, because
Well,
that one costs more than the BMW
yeah.
or the Mercedes that the lady that hit my car door. And she said, I drive a Mercedes. I said, bitch, my car costs more than yours, because it was a low end Mercedes. But anyway, I digress. But the whole point is you can't.
You're all with your emblems on the ground. So
You might want to pick that
yeah, your Mercedes.
that thing that you stuck on your car. But the whole point is freedom of speech itself, I think, is separate from defamation and separate from, because yes, you have the freedom to say it, but you can lose money for lying
Mhm.
and for defaming somebody and doing something. Now, I think that the courts, my personal opinion is the court should be a lot less, and it should be more accessible to people for going after someone like that. Like, I think it's astronomical what attorneys want to charge people for things, when a small business, they're like, cha-ching, we're going to charge her $20,000 to defend herself. No, they should be like, okay, we're going after them for our 20,000 and another
Right.
20,000 for you, or
Right.
whatever you feel your loss is.
Right.
They should not be able to, what that does is ties people's hands from
Mhm.
being able to go after the people for defamation.
Mhm.
And if you had a good enough case that a law firm was willing to take it on, then you had a good enough case. And now, if you had known me at the time, I'd have been like, we'll do this together. We'll fight them when we'll go and file the court case, and I'll add all their names to it, and we'll go do it ourselves and stand up in small claims court, because technically in small claims court, you cannot have an attorney.
No, that's true, but there's a limit on how much you can sue
Right.
for too. So
Right.
that's what I was like, and because there was so many people,
Oh, you
it would
sue
have
each
had
and
to
every
be
one for the
separate
max amount. Yep,
filings.
exactly.
And I was like, 35 people times 10,000 a piece. Okay.
Yeah. But I mean,
But
it technically
to get that money too, like but see, that's the thing. The people running their mouths don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out
True.
of. So like,
That's where it
but the
needs to be
damage
changed
on
to a
the other
criminal
side
charge.
has already been done.
Yeah.
And so like, and I still to this day probably suffer losses if my name or business name pops up among those people and they're like, oh, don't go there because she blah blah blah. Like, it's crazy the
Well,
things that have
that's where
gotten
you have
back to
to
me
you have to
even
learn that
down the road. And so I guess, like, I agree with freedom of speech too, like 100%. Like, I do think people should be able to say whatever, but I guess, like, back in those days, people weren't so aggressive and angry towards each other
right,
as a nation.
right.
So there was,
Well, there
with
was
that
a,
freedom
there
of
also
speech,
wasn't
also came mutual respect for your fellow
there
citizens.
also wasn't something like the internet
Well, true.
where they could sit
They were all
behind
Pony Express
where they could sit behind a keyboard
with their quill,
Yeah.
mad
I mean,
scribbling.
they're mad scribbling with their quill and
their ink,
sending it
and
on
their-
the Pony Express.
or a pigeon.
You know, yeah. By the time that the person got it, they're already back friends.
Yes,
you know,
yes,
like they
right,
had already
right.
gotten a letter from them saying, "I'm sorry that I was mean to you," and he's like, "Oh shit, I felt that thing coming." And you quick write another one. It's okay, I forgive you. Forget the letter you just got. You know, I mean, so times are different.
They are,
And
they
that's
are
where we
different.
have to start looking at the difference of time. And those type of things need to be turned into legislation and they need to
Yes.
be turned into criminal actions,
Yes.
not just defamation in a civil case. They need to be criminalized where you cannot, and there is with
like pay
cyberbullying.
fines, do jail time,
There is
do
for
community
cyberbullying.
service, like something,
And
you
there
know?
is for cyberbullying, but it needs to be more stringent and it needs to also, they need to start including in their defamation and they need to start including
Yes.
their if it harms somebody's business,
Yes.
because not every one of us can sue someone. And you just making it, well, that's a civil case. Well, then they're just going to keep getting away with it because the normal average person can't afford the $200 or $300 fee every time somebody defames them to go to court.
Right.
And on top of that, depending on where it's at, if they're not in your state or in your city, how are you going to go after them? But there are more rules and regulations coming with cyber type of stuff for that, especially right now because of a lot of the doxing that's been happening. There are a lot more people that are trying to get some of those regulations more active, because most of the people who have been gone after are the people who own the House, the Senate, and the White House right now. So they are trying to make some regulations. And I think that's something that needs to be fast tracked, because freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom to harm. And that's where they're missing the difference of freedom of speech. And they're using that as their out for freedom to harm. And harm can be in the form of financial. Harm can be in the form of harming their business.
Or mental health too.
Mental health too.
Like, is a big one.
And there's enough cuckoos out there that you can get to a point where, like you said, you were afraid, because there's enough kooks out there that they will come to your house and threaten you or actually cause harm, because we have, not to say that who has or who hasn't, but there have been people, mostly on the left, who have said, like, you need to become violent.
Oh yeah,
you know, I mean, and I'm talking politicians who have stood out there and said, take to the streets and we have to start being violent. And the cuckoos out, the main people
when you
that
see
aren't
them out eating in restaurants, when you see them out shopping,
attack them.
when you like that's how the leadership was directing their party.
And I know what they were meaning is verbally. But the cuckoo one out there sitting in his basement going, I'm going to get my gun and I'm going to go shoot one of them people. Hey, you shot one at a baseball game. And there have been several attempts on Trump's life. And, you know, they had to put JD and his family in safety because you don't know what. And someone just got shot by the Secret Service at like midnight last night
in front of the White House.
In front of the White House, trying to get in or do something. I don't know the whole story behind that one, but I mean, for Lord's sake, like we need to
Well, and here's another piece to the like why I do believe in it, because of the speech that is going around the Liberal Party, and how everything that's happening or has happened is twisted up, like, and it's the only information. So if you're always hearing information that's untrue, it's going to send you down this path only. So you're living a life that's based on all these lies, and that shouldn't be like, I feel like that shouldn't be allowed, because you're really like doing a disservice to people
absolutely,
by lying to them and
absolutely.
keeping them in this continuous cycle of viciousness and condemnation. And like, Trump could literally find a pot of gold and hand a pot of, or find
everyone
330 million pots of gold, and everybody gets a pot of gold, and it's worth $1 billion.
Yeah, like he could
And
literally, and they still like
find
slam-
something. Like, I was mortified when I saw the picture of DJ. Like, there's two pictures. There's one on the left and one on the right. And the one on the right says one thing, and the one on the left says another. And the one on the left says, when you're using a black child as a prop, while stripping money away from the same research that saved his life. And I'm like,
well, yeah, that's
like, how
the next thing we're going to
gross is
talk about
that?
right now.
Like, that's
so let
gross.
me play this video for you,
Okay.
so you can hear what this ridiculous, you know, the thing is when they talk about that they're stripping away the research, that hasn't happened.
No.
You know, they're taking the money and they're talking about USAID, and they're talking about the money that Elon Musk has found. Nowhere in there have they stopped funding anything for cancer research. Nowhere in there have they've stopped bullshit of let's transgender monkeys.
Yes.
And let's see how they do. And I'm sorry, but that's torturing animals. I'm all for, and I'm going to be point blank with it. I am not against animal testing. I love animals more than I love humans. I sent you the other day is I love humans. But humans,
Yes,
humans are better than people. But because I accidentally said humans, and my husband said humans. I said, I mean pets, like dogs and animals. And he's like, you mean humans? And I said, yes, humans are better than people. But I do love animals more than I love people, because people are horrible. People personally try to harm one another. We are the only species that will kill another thing for, and I can't say that's true, because monkeys will kill for sport. They will kill for fun, because they do. But they're the closest to humans as there is. But we are the only ones that, like, serial killers. We don't have serial killer monkeys. We don't have, and they will kill their defamed or defamed.
Yeah, and they're like, you big
You
fat
defamed
ugly
me.
fucking monkey.
And then they
You
kill
look
each
like
other.
a gorilla orangutan.
Yeah, they don't quite do that, but we are a species that does some pretty vile things.
Vengeful.
Vengeful things.
Vengeful.
And now monkeys can be vengeful. That's where it's really hard, because monkeys
Yeah.
they do fall under a lot of the things that humans do. But you know, there is a difference. There is a difference. However, I would not condone testing on children versus testing on animals. I would prefer, if we're going to test on them, and I don't mean, like, when I say that, I'm not saying that mice don't have rights, you know, that they shouldn't be inhumanely treated. But if we're going to test something to see how it could affect humans, find the ones, like they do a lot of testing on pigs because the pig organs are similar to human organs. Different animals fit for different reasons. But I don't think we should have a slew of children in a lab facility that they're like, well, that one died. I mean, I don't think that should be happening. It does happen, but that's a whole nother story. But I don't think that she's like, I'm biting my tongue right now.
That will be another day.
That'll be another day. But I know there's testing. There's testing on humans altogether because people that sign up for clinical trials
and whatnot.
But you're doing that of your knowing intent, where
Exactly.
I think that
and most of those
children
people,
should not be in those.
No.
Because they cannot consent.
Right.
They don't know, just like I don't think they should be getting hormone treatments for transgenderism till they're of age. If you're 18, I'm all for do whatever you want to do, boo, but it should not be done to a child. And there's enough people that are coming out saying this happened to me when I was a kid. So that's a whole nother story too. The whole point of this is they're spreading false information, trying to get the main public to believe their lies and hate Donald Trump and hate the White House and hate this administration and the Senate and Congress that are Republicans. They are point blank spreading lies and untrue things, like they're going after Medicaid, they're going after Medicare. Now the new one that's out there right now is they're shutting down the VA.
Oh,
and
yeah,
that's not true. Those things are not true. So this whole point is them going after this child that had cancer. So let's listen to this real quick.
The Democrats, their reaction to President Trump's address last night is being called embarrassing, disgraceful, one of the ugliest displays of partisan politics in American history. Now listen to this. The night began with several Democrats turning their backs on the president, then walking out.
All right, y'all, I don't have a lot of time. I just came off the House floor. I could not stand one more second, tolerate one more second.
And not to be outdone, Congressman Al Green made such a scene, he had to be thrown out.
That's your warning. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
Now, I watched a news broadcast where they were talking about that Marjorie Taylor Greene had an outburst and they just let her stay. I do agree that, yeah, it should be the same on both sides and that the Democrats let her stay, but she only made one outburst and then she shut up. He got a warning. He got several warnings before they finally said you need to remove him. Yep. So it wasn't like he said it one time and then it didn't happen again. Like they didn't do that. It was literally over and over, and he was disrupting the whole thing. And it's not about being Republican or Democrat. It's about decorum. They have rules of decorum for the Senate chambers. They have rules of decorum. And if you don't follow the rules of decorum, you get a warning. Yep. If you continue, you get another warning. If you continue, you are going to be removed by the Sergeant of Arms. That's why he's there, because you have to maintain decorum. Right. It's part of the rules of the House. Right. So when you disobey the rules of the House, then they're going to tell you to get out. If you come over to my house and we have a disagreement with something and we go back and forth and I go, that's enough. Let's not talk about this anymore. Let's let this conversation go and let's move on to something else. And then you continue. I'm going to say, let's stop talking about this. Obviously, we have a disagreement. Stop talking about this. We're not going to do this anymore. And you continue. I'm going to say, get the F out of my house.
Exactly.
Like, that's how it works.
Exactly.
Like, you don't disrespect another person's house. No. And right now, that house belongs to Donald Trump.
Exactly.
It belongs to the president, who is the one speaking. That is his house right now. So you need to get the F out. And as a Republican, as a conservative, as a MAGA person, that's my house. Get out.
Exactly.
Either have respect
Exactly.
or get out. And I feel that way about them not standing for anything that was
Yes.
positive.
And being on, like, they were literally like on their phones.
Oh, they were on their phones, holding up their
talking to
little,
each other, holding up their
little
signs.
bingo signs.
Yeah,
You know,
I
bingo!
mean,
I got bingo! You know,
That
like
was outrageous.
it was childish.
Yes.
And what it did is it made them look childish. We'll continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this was barely 5 minutes into Trump's speech. Talk about decorum. That's what they're supposed to have. It was truly shameful. It got worse. Democrats did not clap for Mark Fogel, a freed American hostage standing beside his 95-year-old mother.
Last summer, I promised his
fabulous,
95-year-old
Yeah.
mother,
For 95.
Malphine,
She
that
did.
we would
Look at
bring
her.
her boy
Precious.
safely back home.
It's beautiful.
After 22 days in office, I did just that, and they are here tonight.
Look at that happiness.
Everyone
Look
stands
at all
up.
that
Look at all the
happiness
people greeting
and
him
all the-
and saying
yes.
such beautiful things.
Yes.
I mean, what's not to stand for in that? There's no partisanship in
None.
standing for this man
None.
getting. I teared up. Like, there's no partisanship in him getting to come home to his 95-year-old mother, and him.
Yeah.
And when they say Trump is touting and touting these people in, who hasn't done that?
But I'm thinking,
show me
well,
a president
yeah, but
who hasn't.
every time they have people there that they acknowledge,
Biden did
that
it.
they honor, that they tell their story.
Biden does.
Yes.
Obama
yes,
did.
Yes.
Clinton
yes.
did. Bush did. Reagan did. I
Carter-
mean, we can
well,
just.
I don't know if they
Yeah,
went back that. Did
I
they?
think
Did
Carter.
they?
I'm sure. I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
I'm betting
It'd
you
be-
can go back to all of
Yeah,
these
I wonder
different
if
ones.
we could dig up some old.
I'm sure there's old media of
Yeah.
them. I mean, today it's a lot different because there's more people paying attention.
True.
So
True.
you would have to go and scour like C-SPAN back in the day because they
true.
didn't, they didn't have the same media that we have, nor did you have, even in Vietnam, there wasn't this many people paying attention to the congressional hearings.
True,
Like, you had
that's
to go
true.
look for it to watch
Yes,
it.
Yes.
You had to go, and it only aired on like C-SPAN.
Yes.
Like, you
that's
couldn't,
right.
it reminds me of the movie from G.I. Jane. You like angry? Watch this. They're going to see it on C-SPAN because that was the only place where we watched this stuff.
That's very
Now
true.
it's on everything.
Yep.
It's on everything because we, as the mainstream people, and I'm going to keep reminding those watching that mainstream does not mean that that it is MSNBC, CNN, Fox. That's not mainstream anymore. Mainstream means, the definition is the main location that people go to get their media. Mainstream media is now Joe Rogan, Megyn Kelly, Dan Bongino, Fox News, Fox and Friends, The Blaze, Daily Wire. Those are mainstream, and even the Democrats watch most of their stuff on streaming platforms. They don't watch it on regular television
That's true.
anymore.
That's true.
So I'm going to
Yep.
keep reminding people that is what it is. It's not the same thing as it once used to be. All right, we're going to continue.
And then Trump announced the capture of a terrorist, someone who killed 13 heroic Americans in Afghanistan. But nope, can't stand for that.
3.5 years ago, ISIS terrorists killed 13 American service members. Tonight, I am pleased to announce that we have just apprehended the top terrorist responsible for that atrocity. And he is right now on his way here to face the swift sword of American justice.
And now, I'm not going to lie on this one. I can see the Democrats not standing. I believe it. I understand it. I disagree with it because they won't acknowledge that it's their fault that those 13 were killed in the leaving of
That's right.
Afghanistan. They've never said I'm sorry. They've never apologized. They've never addressed the families.
Never.
They've never addressed any of that. They do the
Nope.
I don't know what you're talking about when you talk about Benghazi.
Yeah.
Abbeygate. They what?
Yeah.
What who's on second? What's on third? Balloons. Starship Enterprise. I mean, like, they've never acknowledged it, nor did Biden ever acknowledge it, nor did Kamala Harris ever acknowledge it.
Not a word.
So I could see that they're going to continue with that stance in that circumstance, because them standing at that point in time would then be acknowledging that they effed up.
True.
So I can see them not standing for that one.
Yeah.
That one to me is the only
Not
one
a
that makes
shocker.
sense, because or not a shock, because they had to like maintain the
Yep.
I don't know what you're talking about here. I don't know. I didn't see any of that. That did not happen. That did not happen. Who are you going? Why do you have to go after this guy? It makes no sense. Nothing happened there. Why do we need to do that? What 13? Who 13 are you talking about? I've never heard of 13. You mean MS 13?
Yeah.
You know,
MS
like
13.
so because of that, I can see it.
Yeah, for sure.
I can understand
sure.
it. It kind of sorta in a bullshit kind of way kind of makes sense that they wouldn't stand for
he
that.
probably did that to get their goat too.
Oh, I'm
Like,
sure.
for sure.
I
He was like,
absolutely.
yeah, we're gonna.
I mean, he
we're
is
gonna
the
bring up that, or we're gonna pull that skeleton out of their
he's
closet.
the freaking master of trolling. So I can
is. He
absolutely
really
see
is.
100% of
Yes.
why he would do that, because he is the master troller.
Yes.
Okay. I kind of went past that one a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Well, how about the murder of student Laken Riley? Can we get out of our seats for that?
Oh God, no. We can't
Laken
stand up
was
for Laken
stolen
Riley.
from us by a savage illegal alien gang member who was arrested while trespassing across Biden's open southern border and then set loose into the United States under the heartless policies of that failed administration. With us this evening are Laken's beloved mother, Allison, and her
That was
sister,
so touching, I will
Lauren.
say. That was so touching. And I mean, what they've gone through has been so horrific. And that's so sad. But the fact that the Democrats can't stand. Now, at the same time, I'm going to play devil's advocate again. If they stand, they acknowledge that they messed up the border crisis. They can't stand because she could have gotten killed like anybody else anywhere else. And it wasn't because of the border problem.
I just want to reiterate something in here really, really quick. It's not about this, but what you just said, it's totally relatable. There was a little indigenous girl found. Her body was found within the last couple of days, dismembered in bags right outside res border. And I was watching some people on TikTok, or listening to some people on TikTok yesterday. They had a live broadcast and it went on for a long time, and I just listened. And I didn't read any comments. I was just listening to the women talking, and they were family members of this little girl. And let me tell you, they denied over and over and over again that any possibility that it could have been an illegal alien, and they laughed at that notion.
Right, because they do
we're
not
all illegal aliens.
They do not want to admit that there are any illegals doing anything, saying anything causing anything against anyone else.
I know.
They do
But
not want to take.
at what point do you draw the line and say, gosh, maybe? Because it was in New Mexico, or Arizona, like really not far from the border. So how do you say, no, it couldn't have been somebody that crossed the border and did that to this little girl? Like,
Yeah, I honestly, I don't
like, that's
know
just
how they can continue.
that's what I mean. Like, freedom of speech needs to have some revision, because somebody told people to like think this. Like, how do you deny that? I
Yeah.
personally know somebody that had a run-in with someone that was here in this nation illegally, who had been incarcerated, got let out, offended again, but he offended the wrong chick because she blew his brains out on the side of I-25.
And I love seeing that people are standing up and defending themselves. And but the problem is there's too few of people who can defend themselves. There's too few that know how to defend themselves, and there's too few that will defend themselves.
That's true. You're right.
So you have
right.
to take into account that we have to, as Americans, we have to stand behind our president and our laws. And the reason we have immigration laws is not to keep immigrants out. And this is part of the problem. And this is what they have lost the, what do they keep saying? They've lost the message, whatever, because they're going after people for something that is not accurate. They're saying these things that are blatant bull crap, and that we hate immigrants. We don't want any immigrants. We don't want, when you have someone's, and she's a senator, I think, or congresswoman, and she says, it is not illegal to be an illegal immigrant. Did you not hear yourself say the word illegal twice in your sentence? Like, that's an actual crime. Like, they're not committing a crime by being an illegal immigrant. That's a crime.
What in the world do you think
like,
illegal means?
So it is not illegal if I break into your house and steal your shit because I said it's not illegal. Like, that's not how it works. Like, if I come into your house illegally, it is a crime. I can't come into
that don't belong to me illegally.
I can't come into your house and then say, well, I've moved in.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, squatters do that, but
well, they do.
But you can't do that when they're
that's the same
home.
as somebody coming in that's pregnant and delivering a baby on your floor and being like, well, I guess it's my house now too.
Yeah,
I had a baby here.
I live here now. Like, that's how it works. No, we want legal immigrants.
Yeah.
And I'm not against this new gold card standard of buying your way in, because honestly, I mean, there are going to be caveats to it. There's going to be regulations to it. There's going to be a whole thing you have to fill out. Not just, because the Democrats, of course, went into that. Well, now you can just buy your way in and be that bad person. No, you're going to have to show that you have a business, that you're coming here to do business. And it's a way to citizenship, but you still have to show proof and evidence of what you're going to do to provide for your company, your people that work for you, and contributing to our society. You have to contribute, not take from.
And guess who else does that? About 95% of the other countries around the world.
All of the other countries.
There's
I shouldn't say
small handful.
Yeah.
And
those are and I would have to say, for the most part, those small countries that don't, nobody wants to go there anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but and there's some countries that no matter what, will never, ever, ever be able to be a citizen of that nation. They'll let you live there. They'll
Right.
let you live there. They'll keep extending your visas for 10 years, 10 years, 10 years.
And you'll still never be a citizen.
No.
Yeah.
There's countries where you have to have $5 million in
you
the,
have to
in the bank.
there's companies that or countries that you can get citizenship, like all these wealthy people. Now I have to say that most of these wealthy people could, like Tina Turner moved to another country and she made her way and she was
I guess you
able
can get
to,
citizenship.
and she got citizenship.
Yeah, you can,
But it took time and it took a lot of money, that these people are like, I'm gonna just go to Canada. Good luck with that. Let me know how that worked out for you, because they're not gonna let your ass in,
No,
whatever.
they're not.
And some countries, which I don't, and that's one of those parts of it, is this has happened to not just our country. It's happened to Australia. It's happened to the UK. And they're starting to wake up and they're starting to realize, oh shit. Now, granted, they're not coming across their southern borders. It came in from crisis situations of asylum.
Yes.
And the asylum became immigration and became infestation. And, when you have major parts of your countries that are now ran by radical Islam, that's an infiltration, not an immigration. There is a difference.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to continue with what she was saying.
And then finally, a 13-year-old pediatric cancer patient who wishes to be a police officer. Can we all stand? Can we all clap for a hero that America fell in love with?
I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
Oh, look at the joy on his face. I mean, look at him. He actually picks him back up and he hugs the Secret Service agent or director. And the thing is, and this has not been said on any social medias, and what a racist Trump is.
I know, right?
Like, I mean, he couldn't find a white kid to do that for. No, he did it to someone who deserved it, because he wanted to be a cop all his life. That's what he wants. And when I do disagree when I hear them say he's won his battle with cancer, because he hasn't won his battle with cancer. He's not fully cancer free, and he will probably never be fully cancer free. But he is winning every battle he fights against the cancer. He's
beat all the odds right now.
He's beat all the odds.
Yes.
He's beat every odd that has been thrown at him. And when you have disgusting reactions like that, and that's the end of that I'm showing, but when you have disgusting reactions like that, where they have the audacity to say things about her. Now, I think she continues. I screwed up and I should have kept that on, because the other part of that is when she talks about the journalist. So let me pull that back up here. And so what do you think about them having these people on the Senate floor to honor? What do you think it's do you think it's a bullshit thing that they do? All the presidents do it, so let's just forget about it being Trump versus Biden or Obama or whatever. But do you think it's something that is like many people have said, oh, they're just placating, or they're just showcasing? Do you think it's a good thing, or do you think that it is a game?
That's a loaded question in a way, I guess. I feel both ways. I'm not solid on that, because I have some, of those things that happen sometimes. I think they're called feelings. And so, like,
you're not allowed to have those.
Well, I mean, I try not to anymore, because
I hate to tell you this, but you're only allowed to have feelings if you're on the left. You're not allowed to have feelings if you're on the right. You didn't get that memo?
But I shed a tear for that little child.
I did too.
So, I mean, isn't that feelings? I don't know. Anyway, no, but
I felt something when I saw that.
all of it. And I felt something when I saw and heard all of it, because as a human being, I think, and maybe it's just the ADD or the tism. I don't fucking know. But I feel like as a human being, or part of being a human being, is the ability to empathize with others and make a connection. So like with Lake and Riley, like
Every mother out there felt
I'm a girl.
something.
I'm a girl. So I empathize with that, like being a woman, being attacked. I have daughters.
Mm-hmm.
I had like and then, I think about my mom, grandma, aunts, sisters, their daughters, like it there's that personal connection, I guess, with DJ. My youngest son was diagnosed with cancer when he was 9 years old. So I was coming
I'm
at
sure
it from
that hit you
oh
differently.
my gosh, yes, like what a glorious moment for
Because
this child.
you were a mother
because-
that went through that and had to go through that with your child, and you
don't know, like
you
that's
saw the
such
joy
a
in that
unknown-
dad's face.
Yes.
That dad's face was so joyous.
Yes.
And I don't know what
because
the story
you want
is.
every single thing for your child. When you hear
Right.
that diagnosis, one of the things that goes through you as a parent is, how can I fulfill everything that they might want?
Yeah, in a very short period of time.
Of course, life is uncertain. You can lose your children at any time. But when you hear something like that, and it puts you on that path of like, you may not have.
And I never
the
had to deal with
chance.
that as a parent with a child. But when I was a reporter, I wrote a series of articles on a leukemia cluster in Fallon, Nevada. And there's another one in Arizona. And there were 17 at that time. There were 17 who have died from this leukemia cluster. And I wrote so many articles. I did win some awards for my articles on that one. But most of them were written about what it was that everybody was dealing with, what the diagnoses were, what CDC was doing, what was happening. It was possibly links to the tungsten mines. It's also part of the reason why they took the tungsten mines out of there. But there was all the science part of it. There was no human part of it. So when I got involved, I took over it. And of course, I wrote some of the scientific side of it. I went to every CDC meeting. I went to everything about it. But I also went and met with all 17 of the families, some who had already lost their family members and some who were still alive. And a kid, he's gone now. Sadly, he did die. He was terminal. There was no way he was going to live. And I interviewed his whole family together. I interviewed his parents separately, mom and dad. I interviewed his siblings separately, and I interviewed him separately so I could get each one of their perspectives. Some of the kids' perspectives were they felt bad about their brother being sick, but they also felt bad that that was the only thing the family focused on anymore. Like they didn't count anymore. And then that kid said to me, and it's the most powerful thing I've ever heard someone say, because I said, how do you feel about this? And what's one wish that you would have? Knowing you're going to die, what is the one wish you could have maybe fulfilled? And he said, and you expect for him to say, I want to go drive a NASCAR.
Right.
I want to go to Disney World. I want to meet the president. I want to meet my favorite NFL football star. I want to do this or this. And he said, my biggest wish is that my family will do everything in their lives for me so that they have a beautiful life. And what I don't want is I don't want my family to be alive dead in living bodies.
Mm.
And it was the most profound thing I had ever heard from somebody, a 17-year-old kid and he said it. He said, I'm never going to get married. So I want my sister to have a beautiful wedding. I'm never going to see my high school graduation. So have an amazing graduation. I'm never going to get to go do this. So go do that. I'm never going to get to go to college. So go to college. I'm never going to get to have a child of my own. So have children. But don't be dead in living bodies. What a profound statement from a child going through that. And if you've ever watched DJ talk, it is so touching what he says and how he does. So we're going to continue this real quick.
So we were just talking about how America cried in that moment. I fell in love in that moment. DJ Daniels. But I watched Debbie Wasserman Schultz recalcitrant, sitting there almost grimacing. No claps from her, no standing from Democrats.
Yeah, I tweeted out that President Trump's only mistake was not bringing coloring books and crowns to keep the Democrats busy during the speech, because it looked like they were at the kids' table. And there were all these beautiful moments that you just laid out so eloquently that you would think would bring a country together. I mean, these are wins for humanity. These are wins for America. And that's really what the speech was about. And I'm so glad that he gave it, because look, the Trump administration has been moving so quickly, even in the news business. I mean, you go to a press conference afterwards and like, oh, we're going to talk about it. Which part? Like, which question?
Exactly. Like, I can't keep up with all the wins. I can't keep up with all the things that are happening. Nobody can keep up with it.
100 different topics that were discussed. And so what he was able to do is just take a moment and tell the American people, this is what I've been doing. And it's all wins for America. More than $1.7 trillion of investments already in just a few short weeks. Solving the border crisis already, taking out terrorists, even pointing out, fixing government corruption, like a 306-year-old Social Security recipient, which...
I mean, the thing that they'll talk about, though, is, well, he hasn't brought the prices of eggs down yet. Okay, everything does take time. And look at the president of Argentina. When he came in, he had to fix a whole bunch of shit, because they were the same way. They had so much bad spending. They had all this other stuff. And now it's turning around. But you have to clean up the garbage. If you buy a house that a hoarder owned and you get a great deal for it, but what's going to happen is what's going to be part of that deal. You get the house at this amazing price.
And everything.
But everything's staying in it. So it's your job now to come and get the big trash cans and start cleaning it up. So let's finish this real quick.
That really funny remark to Bobby Kennedy being like, I guess we're a healthier country than I thought. But that's all winning. That's all common sense. It's all good for America. And to see Democrats, sit there, the only thing I can conclude is that they hate President Trump more than they love this country.
Yeah. Let's learn
That's
a little
a
bit more
fact.
about DJ and his own words and his 13 surgeries.
I had 13 brain surgeries, and that's how many times my personality has changed. And that's something that you don't hear from a terminally ill child. They had 5 months to live. I'm gonna keep on going until my gas tanks run out. And that's when God calls you home. You never know when God's gonna call you home. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my dad. And I know he's pretty proud of me, and I'm pretty proud of him too. And I'd like to thank President Trump, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here today.
Beautiful, beautiful words. And let's bring in the not so rational reaction of Nicole Wallace.
This is
I hope he has a long life as a law enforcement officer. But I hope he never has to defend the United States Capitol against Donald Trump's supporters. And if he does, I hope he isn't one of the 6 who loses his life to suicide.
Like, what kind
of humanity?
What happened to Nicole Wallace? She was a Republican. She was the comms director for former President G.W. Bush. Like, she was somebody who could see the nation in a nonpartisan way when it called for that from the White House.
Like, what kind of humanity have we lost? And I mean, she lost, but she's not the only one. The positive thing, I always try to find the silver lining. the positive thing that I see that has come from this is some of those beautiful moments. But if you go on TikTok, and I'm not going to pull any more up because our time is up, but if you go on TikTok and you look for there are so many now Democrats that are doing their own little TikTok that her saying that, Democrats not standing for any of it, and the vitriol that are doing a whole new walkaway campaign, a whole new we're done. I'm done. I have followed, and now I have finally, my eyes have been opened that they hate Donald Trump more than they love this country. And it's becoming viral where I watched a video earlier today or last night. I don't know when it was. And they were showing these videos of TikTokers saying, I'm done. I've been a Democrat for this many years and I'm done. They just showed at that they couldn't see any good. They couldn't stand for anything. And what that told me is they're evil. What that told me is that they will stand for nothing. And they don't believe in anything, and they have no merit anymore, and that they hate him so much that they hate this country, because otherwise you just stand. And if they couldn't even muster a stand, they could have mustered a clap. But they couldn't muster anything except for staying on their phones or given the dirty looks and whatnot. I mean, they're done. They're done. I'm going to repeat what we said the other day. They are literally in a sinking boat, a sinking ship, and they are putting water they're siphoning water into their ship instead of bailing it out. And the ones that are bailing out are Democrats that are seeing that the ship is sinking and 3/4 of the way underwater, and that their own people, their leaders of their ship, the captains, whatever, are just drowning each other. They're not doing anything to right the ship. They're not doing anything to turn it around. They're not doing anything to try to fix any of the problems, fix any of the holes, repair anything. They don't have little Democrat welders out there putting the holes
They're
back.
making them bigger. They're doubling
They're
down
taking
and making
sledgehammers to
them bigger.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. And they are losing their base, really.
They have lost so much of their base, and
I really believe Nancy Pelosi was the catalyst for crossing that boundary, for eradicating that decorum boundary,
right?
That like temper tantrum boundary.
Now they did stand one time.
She stood there and tore up his address and threw it out, and had the most
that decorum was disgusting.
Shit face. Just I showed him.
I'm
like, who does that? A child does that.
A child does that.
So she lowered their standards down to that.
Too childish. Yeah, exactly.
And so this time, because there was conversation between then and now of, well, what can we do now to make a statement?
Well, they actually
how can we really
had discussions about going in there with clapper hands, wearing pussy hats. They made a decision to wear the pink to stand for women, but they're not standing for women, because not one of those women wearing a pink shirt voted for the legislation to change for women. Like, don't say you're going to, and there was no fat in that. It was just women in sports, and women men cannot go into women's spaces and take over women's spaces, and they cannot be considered women. That is all. That's all that was in it. There was no other fat. When the Democrats do something, they put a bunch of fat in this shit, and then they say, well, we didn't sign it. They wouldn't sign it. Look at all the garbage you put in it to get passed through there. Anyway, our time is up. I want to thank you all for being here. And again, we will be back on tomorrow at 7 p.m., 7 to 8:30 p.m. on Central Standard Time. We do appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. And again, you can follow us on all of our socials at Girl Talks, GURLTAUX. We really do appreciate you being here. And I hope you have a fabulous rest of your Monday, your evening. And if you want, go look for some of those TikToks that are talking about these people that are saying, I'm done. I've had it. I've had enough. I can't do this anymore. Anyway, have a great night. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching Girl Talks live broadcast, which airs weekdays at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Don't forget to send in your Dear Margaret questions. Then join us for our opinion-based answers. We love having you. Thanks for taking the time